Hey y'all, hey, how y'all is, how y'all be, and how y'all are. I hope well. Y'all, I'm coming on real quick. I just got through doing my Brazilian drum twerkage. I was listening to my some Brazilian drums. I'm coming on because I'm gonna talk about my experience, a little bit about my experience of being menopausal, postmenopausal at this point, but a little bit about my perimenopausal and postmenopausal journey. Um, and some may think it's weird that I'm speaking that I am in my I'm 45. I have to remember sometimes what my age is chronologically because I don't really keep up with the chronologicals like that. I don't let it define me. But supposedly, I was born in 79, so I'm supposedly 45 years old. But I've been a twerker ever since I was pre-menstrual, so I still like to twerk. Now, when I was younger, I would twerk in public too, but like in my teens, 20s, a little bit, depending on where we was at, clubbing or whatever. But now I just twerks in house, in private, for my eyes only. But yeah, I think it's nice to twerk. So the reason why I brought that up is because when I lived in Brazil, they would do the drumming. They would do the drumming in the mountains, in town. If you descended, we would descend into the town because we lived in the mountain parts, in the rainforest. And it was just the most magical, mystical experiences to have. But they would have the drums going, and then you would just. I would find myself, my hips would find themselves swaying and gyrating, and it was the most healthy, womb healing and invigorating experiences to have. So anyway, I wanted to talk about a little bit about my journey, perimenopausal and postmenopausal. Now, I've been postmenopausal for about 4 years now, and I had a 15-year plus history in perimenopausal. And some of the symptoms, I didn't have a lot of symptoms, but a majority, it was a more intense experience symptom wise perimenopausal than say postmenopausal for me. That's been my experience. Particularly, I would have heart palpitations, and the background is that I had more of a healthy diet, and I'll say this, um, both on both sides of the journeys of menopause, both peri and post, water has been the denominator that has been the most helpful for me in my process. Um, and symptoms. Like the more water I intake, if it's up to a gallon a day, that's what I need. That's what I do. And it depends on the time of year. It depends on the climate. Not so much the time of the month anymore, which I'm really grateful about not having to. Let me say it this way. This might sound weird too. Sometimes I do miss having a menstrual flow. Sometimes, and that's because there were certain things and rituals that I would do. Just my little way of feeling good and comfortable about being in the menstrual flow. Whether it be just get my heating pad out and sit on that for a while and wrapped up in blankets and comforters, or I would sip a certain type of tea, and I had a certain way that I made that tea, and I had a certain mug that I used to drink that tea out of. It was just certain little things that I would do. And if it was wintertime, oh my God. And so it would be like the certain comfort foods that I would cook. I still cook some of those things too, but it's just a different vibe now, which I like actually. I'm really grateful to not have to worry about that anymore. The only thing is I can't stop thinking about this. Okay, so this is my little 75-cent gown. I I got when I was in Egypt. I just returned to Egypt for the first time in returned to the States. Oh goodness, returned to the States for the first time in 4 years. I lived abroad, and I lived in Egypt for 2 years. Um, so this is my little 75 cent gown that I got from Egypt, not too far from where I was staying in 6th of October city. Um, so I feel good about it. I like being able, because right now this week's weather is, nice. It's going to be like in the uh, 40s mostly this week, so I'm real happy about that. So I don't have to worry about wearing layers and all that. That's the other thing that I think I'm having to be more considerate about in this journey of menopause for me is the hairs that grow on my chinny chin chin. Oh, my silver strands, which I'm really not too bothered about, because, to me, I'm not about the aesthetically pleasing to others. I'll go with what's beautiful and aesthetically pleasing to me when I look in the mirror. Okay. So my chinny chin hairs, I only get rid of them because I don't want to feel hair on my face. I don't want to feel that. Except for my natural eyebrows and my natural eyelashes, they don't get in my face like that, like my dreads are doing. But that's a different story, But hair follicles sitting on my face, growing out of my face, I don't want it. I don't like to feel it. Okay. So other than that, I did have the heart palpitations, both on both sides of peri and postmenopause. Nothing was attributed to that necessarily. I haven't been diagnosed with any issues. I don't have any medical diagnoses, so I don't have any medication interactions or anything like that that would trigger certain symptoms that I had when I was perimenopausal and postmenopausal. Although I'll say perimenopausal was more intense on a symptomatic basis than postmenopausal. For instance, in perimenopause, I experienced, I think the closest what would come to was a hot flash of I would feel like what feels like a hot blow dryer in my face. And it would last for a couple of minutes. And I think I've experienced that a total of 3 times in my life period, and that was in perimenopausal. But postmenopausal, no. I would have heart palpitations, but I would know that would be stemming from certain things that I would eat, right? Or in some cases, if I'm standing up for long periods of time, like if I'm trying to cook, because I like to cook, but if I have to stand, I guess my body gets a little dizzy, so I get a little lightheaded, and it's like, oh no, I can't. I have to go sit, and especially in a hot kitchen, I literally can't stand the heat. I have to get out the kitchen, unless it's an outdoor kitchen. Now I love those. I want to build one. I actually want to live in a. That ain't your business. What I got to talk about again is the menopause. So. I do not have to worry too much about hygiene as much is in postmenopausal as I did when I was perimenopausal and menstruating still, definitely. When I was perimenopausal, I would have to utilize like deodorant wipes, often. And of course, take about 2 to 4 showers a day. Well, that's including if I didn't have a bath. Now I will say this, in the summertime, it don't matter where in the world I am, I'm taking about 3 or 4 showers. That's going to happen, because if I don't, I notice there's an increase in my body heat. And that also is when my heart palpitations would trigger. So certain times a year would also trigger the frequency in heart palpitations. And yes, I've already had a cardiologist and all those things, run all kinds of tests. There's nothing wrong with me on that. There's nothing wrong with my heart. Okay. It's And I haven't been diagnosed with anything. It's not, they wanted to say it was anxiety. I'm like, I ain't anxious about nothing. I'm chilling. You know, like, girl, I am just living the slowest life you could possibly live, you know, under a rock. I have nothing to be stressed about. And so, no, I'm not anxious about anything. But they didn't, and I told them this is part of the symptoms of menopause, but they didn't want to acknowledge that. It's like, okay, well, all I know is that it's part of my menopausal process and, you know, journey. But other than that, let's see. Weight balancing is something that was a thing in perimenopausal and a little bit in postmenopausal. And I should say more of a fat retention. So not necessarily, because I've never been one to be concerned with my weight. I've always been concerned about the fat retention. And at times I was walking anywhere from 3 to 5 miles a day, you know, as part of my exercise program, 4 to 5 times a week. And then it would incorporate still, again, more, maybe about a gallon of water a day. That's how much water I would drink. As well as having a balanced diet. Those things in my perimenopausal, so my mid to late 20s, it was just not working for me. Those incorporating those things just did not work. But doing them now, say in my mid 40s, was really good, really, really good. So I noticed a difference 20 years later, and being postmenopausal, I think also is a key factor as to why it's more effective and efficient now. And also I do practice intermittent fasting. So I say you start eating maybe around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I usually try to eat no later than 7 p.m. You know, so I give myself anywhere from a 3-hour to 5-hour eating window, but whatever I'm eating later, I'm eating lighter. So that, and I'm trying to think what else did I want to mention. It's so much that I could divulge. So I may cut it here and start another video speaking about some of the experiences and the symptoms that I've had and how I've properly navigated them for me. I just wanted to kind of open up a little bit about my menopause journey because people hear me often say, especially in my real life, the way my menopause is set up, that's what I like to say. And it has some people laughing because it's like, wait, what? You menopausal? Yeah, I'm postmenopausal. The way my postmenopause got me set up, because it does dictate a lot of the navigation of movements that I do and don't make. You know, because some things are just I'm not about to do, and you know, go against my makeup to, do or don't do. But anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope this was somewhat helpful. Some is one to come out, so I'm trying to give myself a little time before I close it out to say what needs to be said, if anything else. But other than that, I may come back on and speak more about my experience with menopause journeys, being postmenopausal for 4 years, being in my mid-40s, and just being grateful that I'm in this space now. Do I have any regrets of being in menopause? No. Was it induced early? No. It was just something that happened naturally. I'm very grateful for. I'm also very grateful. So those who know me in real life, they knew that I did want to have children. When I was in my 20s, I wanted to have more babies, right? I'm so glad I ain't got no more kids. I only got the one, and his ass is grown. He's in his mid-20s. I'm so glad that's all I got to think about. Okay, y'all stay delicious. Peace.